and welcome to the David Thompson Show, fighting tyranny one day at a time. It's Friday, May 30th, 2025. This is a little bit of a bittersweet video today. I went to Panera today. I go Fridays and Saturdays. My brother hangs out there as well as a group of other men in a corner right up front. They've been doing this since that store opened, but I go a couple times a week to see my brother. And I, of course, got to know a lot of people that worked there over the years. And one of those people, who I met first day of their employment, is now leaving for Florida permanently. And it was a sad day. We said our goodbyes, and there's going to be a hole there now. That person played a big role for me, knowing that person, and it's going to be a role that really can't be filled there. A lot of transitory people work there, college kids and high school kids. You see them for a few years, then they disappear. But there's a nucleus of people that work full time, and this person was one of them. And it kind of brings me to my point here. We see this a lot in our lives. Bittersweet times. A group of friends go out. One of those friends is the key to that group. They keep it all together. They make all the arrangements. They make sure everybody stays in contact, and then somehow they leave the area, and that group kind of falls apart. We see this in families where people pass away, maybe a patriarch or a matriarch that pass on, and they were the key to keeping the family together. Everybody would go to their house for dinner. It'd be a big family gatherings, and then we see these people pass on or unable to continue, and that family crumbles. Not completely. I'm not saying they all will dislike each other, but the main goal to get together on those holidays, on those family fun days, is gone. There isn't anybody to keep it together. This happens in a lot of ways, and we see this happening in America today. America has had a good run, 249 years, I think, as of July 4th. But America is on the decline, and everybody has their version of decline, and I'm not going to talk about that so much. What I'm going to talk about here is that America, an empire, and we've talked about this here on the David Thompson Show for a long time. America is an empire. Many go, no, but it is. And many people have talked about this over the years. Many basically historians, commentators like myself have written books about it. And we see this is on the horizon, the failing empire, just like the British before us. They had a saying, the sun never sets on the British Empire until it did. Now, we filled those shoes. After World War II, we became that empire. We grew into it. Powerful military, economically, geopolitically. We controlled much of the world. Now, we see sort of that waning now. And it has been for years. Not always because of our presidents or Congress, although they play a part in it, but because time changes everything. Nothing lasts forever. And as bittersweet and as heartbreaking as it can be, nothing lasts forever. And you can only hope that somehow it can be fixed. You only hope that somehow that person comes back or somebody else takes their place. But many times that doesn't happen. And in this case, it's hard to fix an empire that's collapsing. No one has done it in the past. No empire has ever survived. No empire has ever come back and stayed on top. You can't do it. And this brings me to the crux of this video. And I have an article I want to read. Please listen to this to the end. And then I have a commentary after that. So please stay to the end. By the way, please like, subscribe, and share my videos with as many people as you can. Please hit that bell icon. You'll get notified when we release a new video. Okay, so this is basically an article, and it's entitled, As the U.S. Empire Falls, We Must Take Care of Each Other. Americans have a hard road ahead of us working to create a future that is more humane and just for ourselves and future generations. Now I'm going to read the article. Days before taking office, President Donald Trump and his wife Melania launched their own cryptocurrency. His organization also plans to move forward with new real estate projects in Saudi Arabia. Eric Trump, the president's son, oversees the company's real estate interests and announced the expansion at a conference in Dubai, Saudi Arabia. Eric also mentioned that his father will be the most pro-crypto president in history, a sitting president prioritizing personal capitalist expansion over the people, along with the outgoing Democratic administration's support of genocide in Palestine, signals the country's imperial decline. For humanity to move forward toward genuine peace, the United States empire must end. All empires end, because they become untenable domestically and internationally. Anti-imperialist freedom fighters have noted this extensively. The British Empire receded because it couldn't survive fighting in World War II and violently maintained colonies as liberation movements won independence. The French and Haitian revolutions ended France's imperial rule as it overextended itself working to cling on to its colonies in the Caribbean and Africa. Even imperial proponents have noted that the U.S. imperial decline is visible on the horizon. The U.S. has seen an incredible amount of domestic, social, and political unrest, specifically in the last 6 years. The COVID-19 pandemic exposed the fatal and obvious flaws within the U.S. for-profit healthcare system that is still killing and disabling scores of people daily. The pandemic, along with the continuing crisis of anti-black police violence, saw the nation explode with uprisings. Homelessness in the U.S. rose in the last year 18%, with over 770,000 unhoused people, certainly an undercount. Rising rents, climate disaster, wealth inequality, declining life expectancy, and corporate theft, inflation, are major markers of the unsustainable future for U.S. residents. Bipartisan U.S. policy seems to be greater investment in the military and policing rather than a cohesive social safety net. A further indicator of U.S. imperial decline is the considerable resistance to the idea of capitalism as a viable economic system. The U.S. remains the wealthiest nation in the history of the world, with the largest military and surveillance apparatus by a large margin. Its ability to control the United Nations is unmatched. The social, economic, and political hegemonic domination appears impenetrable. The world economy is still centered around the U.S. dollar because of the aforementioned factors. The issue for the U.S. empire is that it markets itself both home and abroad as the bastion of freedom. That marketing of U.S. brand freedom is evaporating in the U.S. public psyche. It's why you see desperate measures to control social media, like banning TikTok, ending DEI programs, or not teaching accurate U.S. history. The decline of the U.S. empire scares most people for many reasons, but the idea needs more interrogation. This nation-state and its imperial hegemonic misdeeds are a hindrance to the quality of life for the vast majority of people within the country and the world. While the most marginalized suffer first and worst, the widening net of wealth inequality consumes more humans daily. In the beginning of the COVID-19 pandemic, we saw communities fill in gaps where the state and capitalist-based healthcare system failed us. People worked tirelessly to keep their families, friends, and neighbors safe. Strangers became community, and informal networks were built and helped folks survive. We see this continually with climate catastrophes hitting different parts of the country. That sort of collective consciousness is needed, along with making sure that we don't have a state and socioeconomic system geared toward harm. In the midst of imperial decline, Americans have a hard road ahead of us, working to create a future that is more humane and just for ourselves and future generations. We deserve better. I'm glad you stayed to hear that. This is just an example of how America really is. Those people that have a heart, that have empathy, will put themselves to work to help others, to safeguard others. More and more people are leaving that empathy-based social contract that Americans made with their fellow citizens many years ago. They're leaving in droves because all of a sudden now it's about themselves. It's about the things they don't like. So it was inevitable that a man like Donald Trump would become president. A very flawed man, a sociopath, a psychopath, as many experts would agree. It wasn't because Donald Trump was empathetic or he cared about people. It's because he would bring to the presidency power and authority. He would not listen to the laws of the land. He will not listen to the Constitution. He will do whatever it takes to get the job done for his right-wing supporters who see the country leaning more brown, LGBTQ+, more liberal, more woke. That had to be stopped. And those people believed that Donald Trump would do it because he himself disliked the same things. The problem is that the American empire isn't built on just right-wing people, not just those 80% of the Christian males who voted for him. But what Donald Trump needed to tear down was an inclusive government. He had to get rid of those people he didn't want to include in it. Brown people, red people, yellow people, black people, gays, lesbians. Anybody that didn't fit the mold that his right-wing supporters wanted, they would be under attack. He would make America white again. He would make America great again. He would bring the empire back. But there's nothing that can bring the empire back. The world is changing around us. China has risen. The BRICS nations have grown. Countries now look at us as a pariah. They look at us as a predator. He has divided not only this country, but the world against us. How this will end? Well, it will end badly. And whether the final decline, whether the final fall of America happens under his watch or not, isn't the point. The next person may have to witness that. And now that he's gone as far as he has, and we're not even sure how far he will go in taking us away from freedom and the Constitution, but by his final day in office, our country will be much different, and not in a good way. That article said we must join together, like we did during the COVID-19 pandemic. We're going to have to work together to make sure no one's left behind and that everyone has a safety net. That's what we should do in America, care for each other. That's what makes a country strong, not just its military or its economic prowess, but how united we are as a country. And right now, we've never been more divided any time in our history, and that divide is getting greater. The rich are becoming richer and the poor are becoming poorer. Homelessness is on the rise. Poverty is on the rise. Does it matter to Donald Trump or his right-wing followers? No, because they're going to make America great again. But for who? It's all the time I have. God bless you. Thank you for watching me. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share the video. Don't forget to tune in to our sister channel, Nights Around the Fire. Got a few new videos there. I put a link in the description box for that channel. God bless you again, and I'll see you next time right here on The David Tomsic Show.